Hey folks, welcome to Things You Should Know, Accounting Edition. Today we're going to go over the trial balance. Basically the situation is we finished our T accounts for the month. We finished entering all the different account balances, and once those are all finished, we will prepare what's called trial balance. A trial balance per Investopedia is a bookkeeping worksheet in which balances of all ledgers are compiled into debit and credit columns. A company prepares a trial balance periodically, usually at the end of every reporting period. In this case, we're doing it for a month. The general purpose of producing a trial balance is to ensure the entries in a company's bookkeeping systems are mathematically correct. So basically, if the total debits do not equal the total credits, then we have an error. So we're going to go to our trial balance for Jello's Coffee Shop. Wow, look at how beautiful that is. The whisper is awesomely beautiful. So to prepare a trial balance, you need to perform the following steps. 1. You enter the trial balance heading showing the company name, report title, and closing date for the accounting period. See, look up here, Joe's Coffee Shop. It's a trial balance for January 31st, 2014. 2. You list the account names in the same order as your financial statements. Assets, liabilities, owner's equity, revenue, then expenses. See, we have, if you look up here, we have assets, liabilities, owner's equity, revenue, and expenses. 3, you enter the ending balance of each account in the appropriate column, debit or credit. So basically, when we look at cash, if we go here, see it's $129,000. We know it's $129,000 if we look back at the T accounts. And here, you'll see we have $150,000 debited cash. Subtract from that $21,000 equals $129,000 in our cash account. 4, you total the debit column. In this case, it's $167,000. So if we add these all together, total credit column. See, once again, $167,000. Isn't that a beautiful sight? Once again, the left-right rule, $167,000 and $167,000. We have an awesome trial balance. The one thing you need to understand is that your trial balance may have errors. The trial balance has an error if they're not equal, if the debits and credits are not equal, and it could be the trial balance itself, it could signal an error in your financial records, or it could be something in the transaction itself. So we're going to kind of go through some of the possibilities here. So these are the main ways of understanding what the trial balance errors might be. You added a trial balance column incorrectly. So basically, if you added the column incorrectly, that might be wrong. You calculated the account balance incorrectly. Basically, it says $22,000 for equipment, but let's say you accidentally put $19,000. You have to just double check if there's a difference. This total should equal what's on the trial balance of $22,000. See how sexy that is? It's sexy accounting math. Another possible error is only half the transaction recorded, either the debit or the credit of an actual transaction. So let's say Jello paid for $1,000 on electricity. He forgot to debit the expense, so it would be under expense. The expense would be lower than it would be, even though the cash was correct. Possibly you recorded both sides of the transaction as a debit or as a credit. So let's say once again that expenditure for electricity, Jello accidentally puts $1,000 debit on the electricity and $1,000 debit on cash. That would make everything on the wrong side and it would throw your whole thing off. Once again, it's got to follow the left-right rule. Credits have to equal debits when you are finished with the transaction. Possibly recorded a debit for one amount and a credit for another. Perhaps when we combine a T account, we had $2,000 in rent for the month of January, $1,000 for electricity. What if we accidentally only do the cash for one of those transactions? That's how you can have it to where the transaction itself isn't equal. So for finding trial balance errors, there's a couple of things you can do. 1, check the math. If the columns were added from top to bottom, then add them up again from bottom to top. So if we go here, if you added things going down, when you recount, go from bottom to top. A lot of times, even if you're recounting it multiple times, your brain gets locked in and starts filling in the gaps. So change it up. Go from bottom to top. Check the account balances are correctly transferred to the trial balance. Just double check that these amounts equal the totals from each T account that we went into. Finally, check the math of the original account balances. Did you enter the T account correctly in itself? There might be something off from there. Now, there are other ways to determine the differences. There's little tricks you can do to trial balance. I may do a special video on those tricks, but let's get the basics of accounting down before we start learning tricks. Once your numbers have been verified and balanced, you'll use these numbers for your financial statements in the future. We went through that in a previous video. We'll probably go through it again in a future video after you've learned these basics. Well, that's it, folks. This is a really quick video. It was for trial balances. Next week, we'll cover the chart of accounts and we'll get into the general ledger. Now we're getting into the meat of things. Until then, take care.